Welcome back to another reaction. This time for There Was a Cute Girl in the Hero's Party episode 1. Name pretty self-explanatory. We will see what this is about. I believe it's about a demon who joins the hero's party. Totally forgot. Drink?
魔王の城。
みんな覚悟はいいか。
ええ。魔王や手下たちの能力はすべて調べ上げたわ。
Okay.
あなたなら絶対に勝てる。
ああ、みんなで魔王を倒そう。
I mean, going by the title, none of these are our main character. Also, I don't feel like any one of these are the cute girl.
を倒そう。
None of these have like the presence of the main interest, main romance interest.
最善を尽くします。
Could be wrong.
行くぞ。
I mean, the wizard looks a little bit too, I wouldn't say gaudy, but she looks like someone that is not really like the, I'm assuming, I believe I saw the picture, the cover art. It's probably some kind of very, very cute, very beautiful, prim and proper kind of character. And she seems to be not as prim and proper in the sense of what anime likes to portray. So that is why I'm assuming she's definitely not the one. Maybe the other girl could be, but even then, I could also be totally wrong.
来たか。貴様らが魔王様を倒しに来た勇者どもか。
Could be the main character. Again, I believe the main character is a demon.
だが残念だったな。私を倒さねば魔王様のところへは。
Solid.
脆弱な魔法だな。勇者パーティーの力はそんなものか。
援護します。
Again, she could be the one. Oh, I can do this. Never knew that. Okay. Let me. Does it? Whatever.
援護します。
食らえエクスカリバーエンドレスダーク。
Yeah, holy shoonie, okay. Excalibur and Endless Dark. Fair enough. For hero, you are pretty weak.
ここまでなのか。
Okay, it is her. Fair enough.
やばい。ドストライクだ。
So he's healing them? It is a bit of a problem that I read so many manga, or at least partially. I know there's one, but I believe they had like an anime recently where the whole demon and hero thing was like more or less a show they put on. Here, I mean, he seems to be healing them. Why? I don't know.
始末しますか隊長。お前ら隠れてろって言ったろ。静かになったから出てきたっす。
隊長、この人じっと見てたけどどうしたの？変態。
バカ！どうするか考えてただけだ。どうって殺すんじゃないっすか？いや、全員外に捨ててこい。
Why?
ちょっと行った先に人間の村があったろ。そのあたりにだ。了解。
I mean, fair enough. Why? We would need some reason, right?
面倒。こんなことしてたら隊長また怒られるよ。
いいから行ってこい。
はーい。
Is he maybe
さよな
human?
らマイエンジェル。
陽気よ。あれから勇者一行は証拠りもなくお前に挑んでは敗れ、挑んでは敗れ。今何度目ですか
13回です、ザイキル様。
お前ごときに倒されるとは、勇者など恐るるに足りませんね。
No.
陽気。
Okay. Now, this does not seem like a game show or whatever, so there is no real reason to not kill them. So you need to get a reason. So even though there's no apparent reason to keep them alive, there are some not so apparent reasons. One of them, which would be my main reason, they're so weak, there's nothing to fear. So as long as we keep them alive, the humans don't decide to crown another hero that may or may not be stronger and then be a danger. So it makes sense to have a weak hero alive. Additionally, there could be stuff behind the scenes. This is where world building comes in, where maybe you want to keep the humans alive. As example, what could be that the demons, through some proxies, trade like weaponry to the humans, or maybe materials that the humans then turn into weapons. And they only do that because they are at war with the demons. So by, presenting this war that the humans want the weapon to make the weapons for, so they need the materials, so the demon kingdom is enriching themselves without any negatives. Again, this would be some world building stuff that could be done, but again, would be a solid reason to keep them alive, so the war is still going on instead of just overrunning the enemy. We will see.
なぜ勇者どもを殺さない？
魔王様、あのような雑魚を殺す価値すらありません。
お前がやらないというなら、お前の部下たちに相手をさせようか。
That is also one of those. You see this more often in fantasy and, shows. It's like, oh, they're not worth killing. Just for them to come back and be, strong enough. Which is always like a stupid way. At least make up a reason. It doesn't need to be a strong reason, but any reason is better than they're too weak to kill them. But they are, important enough to rescue them. I mean, you are still transporting them away. It's not like you are like, they're too weak to bother with that. I'm just leaving them in near death state in the room. Now you actively help them.
ダメだ。あいつらじゃ勇者たちにかなわない。それに。
They're no match for the heroes. Are you stronger than the other ones assume?
いえ、私がやります、魔王様。
this also, I mean, we are just at the beginning. Maybe he's stronger than the Demon King and whatever the right hand man that was standing there assume. That could be a thing. There are some stories that, you know, they take stuff like this in an interesting direction. I don't know what the manga was called, but there was one where the humans fought against the demons. The humans lost, and one of the human heroes got more or less reborn as the son of the demon lord. Which then you have this, hey, he wants to get revenge, but he is also a demon now. And we have a whole system about how the demons handle all the stuff. They are not shown as good guys at all. However, he's in a difficult position because he's too weak. He needs to become stronger. And that is by being a demon, essentially, just so he can become strong enough to then take revenge as his human mind. Again, I don't remember what it was called, but that is one of those areas where you take the more or less, hey, our main character is a demon in an interesting direction. Now, I'm assuming we are not going to get this here. We have a pretty light-hearted show already. He likes the priestess, and we know he's trying to go and join them. How that is going to work, I don't know. Is he going to be, going to the toilet whenever they want to fight his demon self?
次また勇者たちを見逃したらあいつらの命が危ない。俺がチート級に強いだけであの勇者たちは魔王を倒すだけの力を持ってる。それにそうこうしてる間にも世界が魔王に支配されちゃうんだよな。
So he's OP. I mean, fair enough. I don't really know, because in Isekai, as an example, having a character grow up to be, OP in a very short amount of time is always very unsatisfying to me, without any good reason, that is. Now, in this case, because he already is OP, or stated as OP, I don't really have that much of a problem with that idea. Because I'm assuming he grew up, he trained, he is just so much stronger. Now, he seems to not have any real drive to take over the Demon King. He doesn't want to kill the humans. I don't really know why. I can understand why he doesn't want to kill the priestess. But it felt like he was healing them before trying to kill the priestess.
次でケリをつけるか。
So I don't really know what his goal is. Maybe he wants to keep the heroes alive so the Demon King doesn't take over the world. Why? I don't know. There's a lot of questions around his motivation at this point. Again, we now have an idea how he likes the priestess. Fair enough. What I can see happening is that he gets defeated by the heroes. Maybe brings them close to the death state. They retreat and he then joins the heroes party. So he doesn't need to. The heroes are strong enough to defeat the Demon King. I don't really know what his motivation is.
今日こそはお前を倒す。行くぞレイブン。
Yeah, I mean, the fight is over. You lost your front line. You are now the back line. You are alone. No protection. So you would instantly die?
このなんてやつなの。
何度戦っても無駄だ。また漆黒の闇へ落とされたいか。セシリア、援護。はい。受けてみろ。聖剣エクスカリバー。
So he's going to get himself defeated?
なあ勇者よ、貴様は気づいているのではないか。私には勝てないと。だからどうした。僕たちは魔王を倒さなきゃいけないんだ。ではその僧侶を置いていけ。そうすれば他の3人は通してやろう。この先に進みたいんだろう。断れ。
I would like to have at least an idea why he's OP. Doesn't really matter, not necessarily. If the rest of the story is good, then sure, it would be a lot better. Now, he wants them to sacrifice the priestess, which, if you like her so much, you could have just imprisoned her from the very beginning. I mean, you had a lot of chances. This is also under the assumption that you are a demon, that you are a bad guy. And as bad guys do, they do bad stuff. That would be an option. You could, you know, mind control her, whatever. Brainwash her. A lot of options. A lot of options. What I would probably have done to keep the status quo, I don't know why he's, you know, he's not letting them pass to defeat the Demon King, or he did not before. And he's also not killing them. I would have just installed a teleportation trap that teleports them outside. And, you know, in the heat of the moment, they trigger the teleportation trap. They are teleported outside. It's like, it's not like I didn't try to kill them. They just triggered the trap in the most inopportune time and got teleported outside.
優雅、取引に応じましょう。私たちじゃあいつに勝てないわ。
Yeah, let's take this deal. So the other girl is out of the party, so she has a better time, better chance to get the hero.
そんなダメだ。
冷静になって。
Now this would be where the whole group would be, you know, coming together and be like, depending on the story and the tone, it's like a self-sacrifice for defeating the Demon King and rescuing all of humanity. She's like a priestess, so maybe she's willing to sacrifice herself for the betterment of everyone.
あいつは何とも私
Or they could just betray her.
たちを殺すチャンスがあったのに、それをしなかったのよ。
だからって今回も無事とは限らないじゃないか。
僧侶一人より世界を救う方が大事でしょ。言ってください。私なら大丈夫です。
セシリア、魔王を倒したらすぐここに戻る。では行くがいい。絶対戻ってくるから。
Self-sacrifice was one of the options, naturally, because priest is... it makes sense. I mean, in the grand scheme, As a heroic sacrifice, it makes a lot of sense. As a more selfish human being, a lot less. You know, but they are heroes. They are seen as the good guys. They are willing to sacrifice themselves. They're going to have the big fight against the Demon King, and even if they have to die, they go and defeat the Demon King. You know, I wanted to say Frieren, but they just defeated the Demon King but the hero of the South, you know, he defeated 3 of them because he made that heroic self-sacrifice because he knew that doing that would enable the next team to defeat the Demon King. And we have a similar thing here going on.
なぜ私だけを残したのです。
それは
私の力ではあなたに傷一つつけられないでしょう。でも最後まであがいてみせます。ホーリーレーザー
Why didn't you use that before?
タマ話を聞いてくれ。俺は容器って言うんだけど。
殺す相手に名乗っても仕方ないでしょう。
I would also be so confused if the big bad boss that was always laughing, always, you know, handing our asses to us and, you know, being a badass is like, oh, I just want to talk.
違う。殺すつもりなら初めて会った時にそうしてる。
話とは何ですか？
君に一目惚れしました。俺と付き合ってください。
Which is interesting. My assumption was from the title, there was a cute girl in the hero's party, so I tried confessing to her. Oh, never mind. For some reason, I assumed he would hide himself as a human and join the party. But he's just like, I know you're a priestess. I know you are working for a god, I assume. And the holiness of humanity. And I am your arch enemy. But a little bit, you know, just because we are enemies doesn't mean we can't make love. Make love, not war, you know? A little bit weird?
えっと
The only real answer I would expect is a no. A simple no. He doesn't know him. He's a big bad boss. I'm also assuming that the heroes have to assume that he is not even the strongest, even though he is. But I would assume, because he's here, he's defending whatever entrance, that the Demon King is stronger than him, because if he was not, he could be the Demon King. But still, it's like, he doesn't know him, he's super strong, he was able to potentially kill them. And now he's like, do you want to go out together? No? I guess.
ごめんなさい。
もうダメだ。死のう。
大丈夫ですか？油断を誘おうとし
I mean, this felt solid. She said no. He was like, I mean, that he's so disturbed by that, sure, whatever. That was most likely the answer. And she's like apologizing because she's a nice girl. But now she's like, oh no, you want to trick me? Which, if you really think about it, in the heat of the moment, sure. But if you are objectively, it's like, why would he trick you?
ても騙されませんよ。ホーリー。なぜ抵抗しないんですか？
君に振られたからもう思い残すことはない。
ふざけないでください。
本心だよ。生きていたってずっとこの部屋にいることしかできない。
Hmm. Okay, why?
外に出られるのは人間の町や村を襲撃するときだけ。
Who's deciding that?
だけど俺はそんなことしたくない。
嘘です。魔族は皆残酷で、魔王も人間を滅ぼそうとしているじゃないですか。
俺は魔族の姿をしてるけど、別の世界から転生してきたんだ。
That's not an Isekai. Come on. Why? Why throw in Isekai? It makes zero sense. In most shows, it's like an afterthought at best. The whole point is that if you come from our world, or a different world, it doesn't really matter, into this world, you have knowledge that you may be able to use in this world. Also, if we have someone reincarnating or isekaiing into another world, it makes sense for that character to be introduced to the world, and therefore we as a viewer get introduced to the world, how it works, how the systems are. It makes no real sense in a fantasy setting where you have a hero, like, you know, Frieren as example. She's going around and she then finds out how magic works, even though she's a mage for 1,000 years, just so we as a viewer know how magic works. This would not make real sense. That is why you have in Frieren Fern as a stand-in, so we can teach Fern how everything works, so the viewer learns as well. And again, Isekai is a simple way for it to not seem weird that the character gets introduced to all these systems he should know, because he can't. He is new here as well as the viewer is. Now, having him Isekai is like, why? So he's OP. You can explain this in another way. You could be like, he mutated, he had a human soul, or, you know, he was an experiment, a chimera where they fused a bunch of souls together and that is why he's OP. But he's not really, because of all the souls, there were human souls mixed in and the human souls took over. A lot of explanation you could use instead of being like, it's an Isekai. Unless this plays a big role in any of the following stuff, making an Isekai is totally useless. And we have more or less, you know, ignored, you know, what he said. Why is he imprisoned here? What is the reason? Is it the Demon King? You can just kill the Demon King and then you are not imprisoned anymore. Is it because you are isekai'd? Why are you imprisoned here? I feel like we are not going to get the answers to that, right? He's only allowed to leave to attack your village, so someone is able to make him leave. Just get rid of them, because that someone is probably the one that imprisons you here as well. So you're free to leave.
転生、どういうことですか？
要は中身は人間ってことかな。
あなたが人では、なぜ魔王に従っているのです？あなたほどの実力なら。
倒すこともできたさ。けど魔王を倒したらきっと俺が次の魔王として担ぎ上げられる。
Okay.
そんなのごめんだよ。結果何もできずに引きこもるだけの毎日でさ。
What? You defeat the Demon King, you become the next Demon King, or they want to make you the next Demon King, because might makes right is one of the main parts that demons in the shows like to have. Sure, but you're a Demon King, so you can do whatever you want. Here's the point. You defeat the Demon King. I'm assuming the Demon King has some kind of magic over you, so he can control you, whatever. Let's say he doesn't have that. Leave. Just leave. Who's going to stop you? the Demon King? No. You can kill the whole demon race. You can kill the whole human race. You can kill whoever is going to try and stop you and just leave. You are not imprisoned here. You are just not leaving.
そんな人生ならいい加減終わりにしてもいいかとも思った。そんな時に君が現れて一目惚れした。この1ヶ月短い間だったけど。
I mean, that is a very nice picture. A little bit, could become creepy if you only draw pictures of her.
家族になって初めて生きてる感じがしたよ。だからもういいんだ。
いいわけありません。あなたには力がある。人の心があるというのなら、その力を人々のために振るってください。今からでも遅くありません。私と外の世界に出ましょう。
If there's action in the show, it's like, okay, fair enough. I'm not really opposed to action, to good action. It's not really going to wow me. I'm not going to get overly excited. The same with comedy. It's nice if there's comedy. If you hit my funny bones, it's really, really nice. Really relaxing. Nice, you don't have to think about it. Comedy, sure. Romance, I just like a lot more communication. A lot of romance has this, what I consider cheap drama, which I do not like. Now, if you have a fantasy show, I would like it to be interesting. I would like to make it sense. Now, you threw in Isekai. I'm a big fan of Isekai. There's a lot of potential. You threw it in for no reason. There's no reason to have it be an Isekai. You could have a million other ways to make this whole thing happen. Maybe there's a backstory we don't get to see that would make the Isekai part more apparent and more integrated. However, most Isekai shows are just Isekai for the namesake. They do not know why. There are shows that are seen as good in the Isekai world, like Mushoku Tensei, very good Isekai. ReZero is a very good show. Isekai wise, probably not as good in the, for the use of Isekai. You have Ascendance of a Bookworm, very good Isekai. All these shows, there's a reason why they are Isekai. Now, a lot of shows just use the Isekai to, okay, we have a character in another world, again, makes it easier to explain everything to the viewer, because we need to explain it to the character, so the viewer can then partake in that knowledge. Good. And just to make them super strong, for no reason. However, there are, you can do so much with the Isekai genre. Mushoku Tensei, as example, there's a lot of, the main character has a lot of faults, a lot of negative traits that he kept through his Isekai journey. And he slowly, very slowly, is, getting rid of these negative traits. And he's growing. This is, we see him grow. We see all the, past his past life is still shackling him in a lot of ways. And he's slowly but surely growing away from that. In other shows like Ascendance of a Bookworm, we use the Isekai for the knowledge, which is one of the, I find, more useful ways to use Isekai, where you have a character that is very good in a particular way of knowledge, and he uses that, or they use that knowledge to try and use it in this new world. Be it managing a country, be it technology, be it in a sense of a bookworm, making books. Now, you can fall into the pit trap of making the character all-knowing, which is very weird. You do have to have a good reason for that. As example, a sentence of a bookworm, that main character knows a lot about other parts of knowledge as well. However, their knowledge is always very sparse. It's not very detailed. It's like, okay, it works in that direction. It's like, I know somewhat how the car really works. I know how the fuel is being used, how it is being ignited, how it is transforming that ignition into power to then move the car. Somewhat. I know somewhat how it works. I don't know exactly, so I wouldn't be able to remake a car, but I know somewhat how it works, and maybe I can get someone who then can extrapolate that knowledge into making it movable. And the sentence of the bookworm is similar in that, of knowledge that is not directly linked to books. Because the main character read a lot of books, because they like books, it makes sense. But that is the other way I see Isekai being very useful. You can use it as, to give the character some traits or development that you would be unable to have them go through. If you have a bad upbringing in a fantasy world, you can't really use the fantasy world to try and work through that as well as if you isekai'd. It makes it naturally more relatable as well. Or you use the knowledge part, which is what I see is underutilized the most, at least in anime isekai.
勇者優雅と仲間たちよ、人々を虐げ。
And yeah, here it makes zero sense that he was not able to leave. He could have left the whole time. He didn't even need to kill the Demon King. He could just up and go, leave. Now, I do wonder what is going to happen now. Is she going to take him in?
世界を滅ぼさんとする魔王を倒し、よくぞ戻ってきた。クラリネス王国国王、ダース・オルタ・クラリネスの名において宣言する。戦争を終結させた英雄たちの帰還を祝し、本日から3日間、我が国の戦勝記念日と。
Really? 3 days a holiday commemorating their victory. I don't know. I feel like you would, sure, 3 days as a holiday every year, fair enough. But I assume you would have like a month-long celebration, at least in the capital.
皆の者、存分に勇者たちの偉業をたたえよう。セシリアが
I do find this always very funny that you have the heroes come back and they are already, everyone is celebrating, everyone is like, ooh, prepare for the hero's return. Meanwhile, question is, how do they know? I mean, the heroes could have sent a courier, But even then, I, as a king, would not trust a courier that girl comes and tells me the Demon King got defeated, unless it is a very trusted courier, which is possible. But it's always, everyone is already ready for the parade. Now, what really is going to happen, I assume, is that the heroes come, they tell the king, hey, we defeated, and the king is going to, let everyone know. Couriers are running around, and then we have the typical parade.
シリアが住んでる王都はも
So she was like, come with me, and you decided to go different ways, I guess.
うすぐか。さて。
Couldn't you just hide that? And why did you break it off? You have magic?
優雅、やったわね。
Oh, oh. There's some relationship going on there.
優雅、やったわね。
ああ、ただ世界を救えたのは何よりセシリアのおかげだ。君が無事で本当によかった。
はい。
I mean, I don't know why I'm yapping so much. So I'm assuming this is like a comedy romance thingy. Why do we have to build this up? Why can't the hero be interested in her as well? They become together. He could be like, I'm happy that she's alive, but still go for her instead of having the stupid triangle, which is stupid drama bullshit. I hate this so much. Where the hero is interested in her, and then the demon is interested in her, and then the demon and the priestess are going to come together, and the hero is like, no, I want her, and then... Look at her, she cute. Why not? And look at her. She's literally clinging to you. Again, that is a whole assumption that is going to happen. It could also be like, hey, the hero maybe not be interested in any woman right now because he was the hero, he was on the road, which whole other part. Maybe they get together later.
受付はと。すみません。
あ
冒険者ギルドに登録したいんですけど。
どうすんだっけ。
大丈夫かこの人。
ああ、あった。これに記入しろ。名前、年齢、死んでも自己責任の同意だ。
ほい。
陽気、21歳か。よし。んじゃ、これがギルドカードな。最初は F ランクから始まって、最高は S ランクだ。依頼をこなして実績を積めば次のランクに上がる。まあ、大抵は F から E に上がるのにも一月くらいはかかるがな。
Yeah, but he's going to do it in like instantly bullshit stuff. Yep. Again, this is the whole reason why you would do an isekai. Hey, people in this world probably know how this works, but our character doesn't know. Now, did it need to be an isekai? No. He's a demon. He grew up as a demon. He could be like, I have no idea how humans work.
説明終了。再発行がめんどくせえからなくすなよ。特にこの3日間はな。
3日？
他の職員たちが祭りで休みを取っちまったし。 俺は手続きなんかやりたくねえ。
どこまでめんどくさがり屋なんだよ。
俺はクレイマン。まあ頑張れよ。
ああ、よろしく。
Now, in other shows, we have the similar system in most of these shows where you have like ranks. Other shows then have like the character do something that instantly pushes them up a bunch of ranks, which is I would never allow if I was in that situation, because you know there are rules for a reason. And it doesn't really make sense to play favorites. Doesn't really matter. The main point what I want to go to is the card. They always like to have these little IDs for adventure cards. Now, this one looks very crude, very, you know, looks like paper, maybe wood. I would like that higher ranks get like better material. So let's say rank D gets a little copper card, and then you get maybe a silver card, a gold card, maybe you get a magic card, you know, that has some magic in it. Maybe add the rank D or so and up, it already has magic built in, so you can't lose it anymore. Making it, because he's rank F, rank F probably has the highest mortality rate because they are new, they have no experience, they take far more dangerous jobs than they should because they want to raise their ranks real quick. So you issue a very cheap adventurer card that doesn't really have many benefits. It's mostly like in Druid ID. And you don't invest too much in these initial cards. There are other shows where you already start with like these really expensive cards. However, they have other systems, you know, combining the adventure card. I would like that to be the case here. I don't know if we will have the case here. It would be nice. Because I just like systems. Because whenever an author sat down and made a system like I just explained, where you have different quality cards for different ranks because of the high mortality rate of F ranks, yada yada yada. Whenever an author sat down and made a system like that, that means they cared at least somewhat about the world. The more systems they have, the more they prepared their world, the more world building there is, the more, you know, care is being shown. And the more care is being shown, the more interesting the show is going to be on average. Similar to like,
ああ、よろしく。
to here, we have some letters here, though this seems like a different language. Now, it seems like people just have different symbols or letters, and that's that. This seems more often. But at least it's like a little bit of word building, a tiny bit. In most cases, it's not really much because, you know, you just have a simple cipher replacement. But at least it's a little bit of, you know, word building. As example, I believe it was in Descendants of a Bookworm. No, it was in the Potion anime last season, I believe. Because one of the main points, which probably a lot of authors don't know, they just copy this. They're like, okay, here's a sign, here's what it reads, and there's the symbol. Now, the reason why the symbol is there most of the time is that these are fantasy settings, and in fantasy settings, there is most of the time a low literacy rate. And that means that instead of writing what this shop is about, you have a symbol that is able to be identified by people. Like a leaf, okay, it's about herbs. Like, a keg of beer, oh, it's, a little bar, a tavern, whatever. Piece of meat, oh, they have some food-related stuff. Here we have a bed, which, very unrealistic bed for, like, fantasy settings, but sure. It's like, oh, this is an inn. That is why you have the symbol, and these symbols or the letters, most of the time you don't really have in if you have low literacy. Again, this would be word building to say, hey, not a lot of people know how to read because reading doesn't really have many benefits unless you have books. Descendants of a Bookworm example. So you just use the symbols. And if you don't spend this little piece with the letters, you can make the symbol bigger, making it easier readable, making it more likely that people acknowledge the symbol and go into your shop. Again, would be part of word building. I'm going to assume that they know how to read, maybe? But even then, the symbol would probably be a better option than having a name tag.
初日から結構稼げたな。ランクを上げてもっと金を。初日
Pretty decent amount on the first day. What did you do? We not talk about that again. 13 gold pieces. I'm assuming it's gold.
から結構
We get
稼
some
げたな
info.。
ランクを上げてもっと金を稼ごう。そして、まっとうな生活ができるようになったら、またセシリアに告白しよう。この恋、絶対に成就させてみせるぞ。
So, we are not going to find out what he did. He has 13 coins. Again, I mean, this is one part that is always... This is one of the reasons why you have Isekai. Again, he doesn't need to be Isekai. Where you can then take a coin and you can compare that to the value of a yen. This way people know, okay, a copper coin is worth like 100 yen. So, like 3 copper coins is maybe a ramen. Something along those lines. You have a comparison, which makes it easier for us viewer to understand how much money he made, how much it is. And we can always sprinkle in some conversion later on. Additionally, you have different types of coins, which most of the time have like a 10, 100 yen for copper, 1,000 yen for silver, whatever. You have like a 10 times increase in value. Again, mostly about word building, especially you can do this without Isekai. You can be like, hey, I am getting like, let's see, 3 gold coins. The inn plus meals cost me like a gold coin per day. So, okay, he made like enough to survive the day plus 2 extra. So every day he works, he can live off 3 days. As example. We seemingly don't have that here. Which again I'm assuming it's mostly about the comedy romance part. So I'm assuming it's 3 days gone.
知ってるか、とんでもない速さでランクを上げてるやつがいるって噂。
何よそれ。
ようクレイマン、この依頼引き受けるよ。
なんで俺んとこ来るんだよ。あっちにお姉さんがいるだろうが。
なんかこっちに慣れちゃってさ、意外と仕事早いし。
んなことより、お前何者だ。
ごく普通の新米冒険者だよ。
バカ言うな。たった1週間で F ランクから D ランクに。
Again, how he had like 4 quests. So a week, if we assume he did 4 quests a day, that is 28 quests, which is a lot, don't get me wrong. but I don't believe it's enough to go from F to D. He's previously was like even going from F to E takes like 3 months.
上がるやつは普通って言わねえんだよ。
まずい。頑張りすぎたか。
まあいい。調べたところ不正をしてるわけじゃないみたいだからな。たく、受付は俺の仕事じゃねえっつの。
その依頼取りやめていただけますか？
あ？令状じゃねえか。なんでこんなところに。
知り合いか。久しぶり。
あなたにお話があります。一緒に私の家ま
He's in.
で来てください。
君
That is your house? What the
の
fuck?
家。
Wow. Strong animation.
セシリアお嬢様のお帰りだ。誰だ。
What is he doing? He's like, oh, Cecilia Summer has come back. So the carriage most likely is an indicator that, holy shit, that this is her carriage. She's come back. He's coming out of that. He's most likely a guest. So you should be, you know, courteous.
でっか
おいお前、何者だ。なぜアクアレイン家の車に乗っている。
おいバカよせ。いや、なんでって言われても。
I mean, you clearly see her as well. Come on.
何をやっているのですか？彼は私の友人です。
失礼しました。ほら、もういいだろ。友人か。
So, why did you invite him? This means that she heard of him? Because he seemingly did not go with her here? And why do you need to talk to him privately in your home? You could have just talked wherever.
すみません。本当はもっと早く会いに
You could have talked in the carriage.
来る予定だったのですが、
気にしなくていいよ。俺も冒険者生活を満喫してたから。よく俺のことを見つけられたね。
噂になっているんですよ。新人冒険者が瞬く間に D ランクに昇格したって。
ふん。
それであなたの行方を知れたのは良かったのですが。
何か問題が？
お願いです。
Marry me?
冒険者ギルドをやめてもらえませんか？
Why? You do know he needs money. I'm assuming?
すみません。いきなりこんなことを。
どういうわけか教えてくれる？
はい。ご存知の通り、魔王は勇者によって倒されました。ですが全ての脅威が去ったわけではありません。
Okay.
まあ、魔族や魔物がいなくなるわけではないもんな。
それもありますが、今度は人間の国同士で覇権争いが始まるかもしれません。その兆候がすでに現れています。
兆候？
我が国の勇者に各国からの縁談が山のように来ています。
勇者くん、もともとイケメンでモテそうだしな。
そうではありません。地位、お金、婚姻とあらゆる手を使って各国が戦力と人材を集めているのです。
I see. So they try to get the hero on their side. That is why the marriage proposal. That is why if he is in the Adventurers Guild, he's going to be more famous, and then a human country is going to try to get him on their side. That is why he wants him to leave. I mean, there's an easy way for him to leave. if he was occupied in another agreement between maybe, let's say, two parties, let's say a vow of some kind to, be together until the end of their life, he could potentially leave.
その手駒にするってことか。
あなたは通常ではありえない速度で冒険者のランクを上げています。その強さなら国に数人もいない S ランクにもなれるでしょう。しかしそうなれば各国から目をつけられてしまう。もしあなたがスカウトされ不意に魔族の力を晒してしまったら、その国で世界征服の道具にされるか、もしくは
敵視されて俺の異世界生活は終わりか。
ですから当分はあまり目立たないでほしいのです。
でも生活もあるし。
私があなたを個人的に雇い報酬を支払えればよいのですが、 S ランクを雇えるほどの財産はありません。その代わり私にできることなら何でもいたします。
I mean, if you're offering, I mean, I'm assuming he's not going to do that, but in this case, the obvious choice would be to present a marriage form, right? This is, if it was like, I don't even know if that is today, but a couple years ago, it was like a normal thing if you had a guy that was surrounded by a bunch of women, and he would tell them, I'm going to do whatever you want. It would not be rare for them to pull out a marriage proposal or a marriage certificate that they only have to, sign to then have a marriage, more or less, contract. That would not be that rare. Naturally, they would never sign it. They would say anything but, sure. But I would, in this case, because he likes her a lot, if I liked her a lot and she was willing, to do stuff, that is what I would do.
ですからこの通りです。この国の平穏のためにどうかお願いします。
俺なんかに頭を下げるな。俺が他国のスカウトを受ける少子千万。どんな美人令嬢が婚約を申し込んでこようが、そんなものは論外。なぜなら俺は今君しか眼中にないからな。
The most important part of that sentence was right now. Feeling change. Situation change. Which means if you want me to never look at someone else, you need to bind me.
しまった、つい前世からの癖が。
ごめんなさい。不要な心配だったようですね。わかりました。冒険者ギルドの方は続けてもらって結構です。
まあでもなるべく目立たないように気をつけるよ。
I'm assuming the hero is coming to visit, and then it's like drama.
セシリア、少しいいかしら。
Who?
はじめまして。私はセリ
Hello. I'm assuming your husband died, right? Please?
アクアレイン。セシリアの母よ。
よろしくお願いします。よきです。
Mother-in-law?
うちの門番が失礼な態度をとってごめんなさいね。
いえ、謝ってもらうほどのことじゃありません。
I heard Oyakudon is very, very, very nice.
そう言ってもらえると助かるわ。でも安心して、このメイド長にこってりと絞ってもらうから。
Similarities to Love is War.
ね、ソフィア。はい、奥様。
メイドに叱られるくらいで反省するとは思えないけど。
骨は何本までにいたしますか？
骨？
任せるわ。
かしこまりました。お母様、ご用件はそれだけですか？
あら、ごめんなさい。それじゃあ本題に入りましょうか。ソフィア、外してちょうだい。
はい。
So, for some reason, the mom is going to tell him that he needs to fake a relationship with her daughter, right? Marry her or whatever. Let's see. There could be, because the maid seems to be stronger than she, as what she looks like. Seemingly, she's going to re-educate the guard. It could be that the family has some information networks. They know that he's more or less an up-and-coming S-class adventurer. So maybe they want to bind him to the family to increase their power. That would be one of those, it would then make sense to try and bind him to maybe the daughter. And if that conversation were to happen, which maybe, it could also be like, oh no, I don't know, and your daughter, that the mom would even offer that he could bind herself to her, to the mom, or to get some power.
失礼いたします。
Now the question is, what is the reason? Is she being targeted? I'm assuming it's because the hero.
セシリア、あの話はしたのかしら。
必要ありません。
あの話とは？
あのね、セシリアに大量の縁談が来ているの。
なんですと？
しかも勇者様からの申し込みも。
I mean, this could be like a playful thing. I really hope the hero is just going to go with the other girl. It didn't seem like he was very interested in either.
勇者様ったらセシリアのことが好きみたいね。
勇者くんなんなの？どうせ王女様とかにも言い寄られてんだろ？そんなにモテるんだから俺の恋路を邪魔しなくてもいいじゃんか。はっ、つい本音が。
勇者様に限らず縁談はすべて断りましたから。
本当？
本当です。お母様も変な話をしないでください。
あなたもセシリアのことが好きなのね。
バレましたか。
それじゃあ、あなたセシリアと結婚しない？
え？
お母様。
それってどういう？
するかしないかで答えて。
I mean, there's clearly something going on. Again, it would make sense that they may have some information. They see him as someone very strong. Maybe the daughter told her mom he's very strong. To bind that strength to the family makes sense. Understandable. Maybe, the daughter's like a sacrifice. It also seems like the mom would be willing to offer herself, depending on if the dad is there. It also may be that the family has another secret. It's not that rare. Or, maybe they're like vampires. Would be one example. And, she needs someone to be married before they can divulge the information. And they want someone... I'm assuming it's mostly because she knows that he is going to be an S rank at some point. And he's going to be, no, I'm not going to marry your daughter because she doesn't want to marry me.
ごめんなさい。俺、一度セシリアに告白して断られているんです。今は冒険者として頑張って、まっとうな生活ができるようになったら、もう一度告白しようと決めていて。
もういいわ。母親であるこの私の進言を断るというのね。
気分を害したなら謝ります。でもこういうことは本人の意思も尊重して。
合格よ。
え？
大事な娘を簡単にあげるわけないでしょ。
罠だったんですか。
まあね、娘に変な虫がついてたら嫌だもの。陽気くんだったかしら。セシリアと仲良くしてね。あなたなら歓迎するわ。
ありがとうございます。
お母様はあなたのことが気に入ったようですね。
あれで
Don't really like these kinds of, gotchas. It's like, why are you trying to trap people? Can't you just have a normal conversation? Try to read the people, do like background check. You are pretty, wealthy, it seems like.
はい。
だったらいいんだけど。
そんなに気になりますか？
いや、そりゃ、セシ、君のご家族だしさ。お願いがあるんだけど。
はい。何ですか？
君のことセシリアって呼んでいいかな。ごめん、変なこと。
いいですよ。じゃあ私も陽気さんって呼びますね。
よっしゃー
I mean, it's the start. Okay. I'm assuming it's the intro. I'm not a big music guy. I mean, there's no reason to have it be an Isekai. Straight up. There are some aspects, it seemed like more focus on comedy. Maybe a bit of romance. There's not much comedy going on as well. We will see. 3-episode rule. 2 more episodes to really show what you have. And I yapped enough this episode already.